In this video, we're going to start off by looking at named routes. Let's first discuss on why naming your routes are a good idea. In OOP, Object-Oriented Programming, it's all about abstraction. That means I can change things without affecting other parts of my application. Let's see how this applies to naming your routes. You create the get route to users balance. Then you define in lots of your controllers and templates that when a user clicks in certain places, they should be taken to the user's balance URL. But then management decides that they don't really want to call the URL balance, they want to call it users available funds. Now, it's a pain having to go through every part of your application updating the URL. Instead, you can name your routes and reference them based on the name. So in this example, if we'd named the route balance, then we'd only have to update the URL, while all the logic in the controllers would be referenced via the name and not the URL. So there are two important things to learn here. 1. Name your routes. And 2. Perform any URL action using the name. That way, we are free to change URLs without having to update a bunch of code. Let's now look at route groups. Route groups are exactly what they sound like. They group common functionality into a group. Looking at the documentation, we can see we can do this with middleware. We'll go more into what middleware is and why we use it in the next video, but to quickly summarize it, middleware provides a way for filtering your HTTP requests entering your application. A common example of this is authentication. If you want to protect a bunch of routes with authentication, then we can use Laravel's provided middleware for authentication. Don't worry if that doesn't make much sense, we'll touch on it further in the next section. Namespaces allow you to add an extra defined namespace to your controllers. By default, Laravel looks in the app HTTP controllers namespace. In this example, we are adding the admin namespace. Subdomain routing is exactly what it sounds like. We want a group of routes associated with a subdomain. And finally, route prefix places on the front of your URL your prefix. One of the things that stands out to me when using Laravel is how simple it is to do things. If you want a route with a domain, guess what the route group syntax is for that? Yep, domain. You'll find that a lot with Laravel, that most of the time the syntax is written in plain English, so it almost reads like a story to you. This concludes the route section. We haven't covered everything within the routing manual section, which is why I want you to not only go along with this course, but read the manual too. A good developer doesn't know everything, but a good developer knows how to find out anything. Once you've read and practiced what is stated in the manual, go ahead and take the quiz.